Right, good evening everyone. Really good to see everyone here tonight, and it's really neat to have Rod and Sarah with us tonight. We're going to be talking about work-life balance, which is one of those things that all of us probably struggle with at various times and in various ways and often. Because so often with a change of circumstances, work-life balance suddenly becomes unbalanced again, and we've got to find our center of gravity again. So it's really good to have you guys with us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Rod and Sarah and their family have lived almost separate lives. As a nurse, Rod was always working long hours and often night shift, and the family would find themselves passing in the late hours of the evening or the early hours of the morning. And so when one was awake, the others would be asleep. And so family and balance in their lives was missing. When Rod and Sarah realized this, they chose to make a major adjustment in their lives to rectify the work-life balance. And in doing so, they've put their trust in God and they've prioritized the important things in their lives while making major sacrifices in other ways to achieve the balance that their family deserves. And so we're really looking forward to talking to you about that tonight. Right, just before we start too, I want to just do a couple of Bible readings. The first one comes from Ecclesiastes 4, verses 4 and 6. It reads this: "And I saw that all labor and all achievement spring from a man's envy of his neighbor. This too is meaningless and a chasing after the wind. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind." And Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." So there we go. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. Where were you when you first sort of started to notice this work-life balance thing? How did you meet, or what was happening right back in the early days? What did life look like for you?
Well, it all got kind of disrupted when I met Sarah.
Okay, yeah, that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Unbalanced from the start.
So everything was going smoothly up to that point. Oh yeah.
Sarah is my balance.
Yeah. Right, I see we're going to have a very balanced discussion tonight.
I guess when we met, I was already studying nursing. So I guess that's all we've known as a couple, probably, in terms of jobs. Sarah was working different hours to what I was, and I was just studying, but I was doing a bit of shift work at the time, and that's getting close to 20 years ago now. So I guess I've been doing it for a long time, and we're just slow movers, and we took a long time to have kids, and so I guess things got a little bit more pressured when the kids came along. And
so before children, did you find that you were coping okay with your schedules?
Yeah, I think that people do things differently, and for us it was just pretty normal for Rod to be working a few night shifts, every couple of weeks, and I kind of got used to doing, maybe going to Bible class by myself, or that kind of thing. Yeah, but I think once you have children, it was still normal for us, but it becomes it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess before kids, I remember when we were building a house, actually, I'd just work a night shift and then come home and sometimes have no sleep and then go out and do some labouring to help the builders. Try and get sleep, after that, maybe get an hour or something and then go back to work again for another 12-hour night shift.
Wow.
Yeah, that you definitely can't do. You can't do that with kids.
No,
No.
no.
It kind of changes it all. And I guess, yeah, our oldest is now 7 years old. So, and we've still got a 2-year-old around the house. And yeah, I guess it was just getting a bit harder. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and definitely family life as well. I think that's part of the problem was struggling with routine or just no routine probably, and kids have a very set routine. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did have a routine, but the routine was the kids and I, Rod had a rhythm to his life, but certainly not a routine. So the kids and I were keeping, the meals and the, Bible story and the various activities that we have sort of going, I guess. So our routine had Rod kind of woven in and out of it, but he certainly wasn't like a stable part of our routine. I'd say.
Yeah.
Not that he's unstable, not saying that. Putting it out there.
Yeah.
So you've got quite a driven personality, Rod. Is that right? From what I understand.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't really thought of myself like that, but I like being busy, and I like working hard. And I don't like doing a half job at work. So yeah, I kind of try and dive in a little bit. Yeah, probably.
So you put your all into it and get in there and do your best and do extra.
Yeah.
And I think probably ecclesial life would be kind of similar in a way. That's quite busy too. I mean, for most people, especially our ecclesia is not a huge ecclesia, so there are fewer people to fill all of the things that need to be done, I guess, and create the community that we have. So I think both of them require a lot of commitment.
Yes,
it's actually really hard. It's such a hard. There's a man at our work, my old work actually, that I respect a lot, and he was an intensivist and a surgeon, and so he had dual practice, and he said at one of his ICU leaving do that he was acutely aware in his career that you could never be the best in two different arenas and two different areas, and even though that's what he strove for. And I just think it's really true in the truth, because we're trying to strive to be excellent in being Bible nerds, Bible students, and then you're trying to do the same at work, and then you're trying to do the same in your family.
So actually, you're being pulled three ways.
Yeah, I think we all are actually. Yeah, I think that's kind of maybe unique in Christadelphia, because you don't have a pastor that just drives it. Like it's the whole lay ministry, isn't it? That does
that's
it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that actually makes quite a difficult balance to keep, because I mean, if you saw the graphic that we had up a bit earlier, you had the guy standing there with his arms out balancing on a rope. Well, there's basically 2 points of balance there, and he's got a bit of momentum to keep him balanced the other way, but you're trying to balance three things. When you bring it out like that, that's quite difficult, and probably even four when you go, well, I'm looking at my marriage and my kids and my ecclesia and my work, there's actually a lot of stuff in life to balance out, or to keep balanced.
Yeah,
I guess you just can't give it just to one thing
all of your time.
It's like just working out, like you've got to become happy with just not doing your best in every one of those. You can do your best you can with the time you have, but you can't give all your time just to one.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Yeah,
I guess that was the challenge that we were struggling with, becoming unbalanced at work or whatever. And I definitely felt like I'd come home. Yeah, I did feel like I was living a bit of a separate life to Sarah and the kids a lot of the time.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
And was that a problem? Did you feel like that was a problem for you, or did it take a little bit of time for it to really register that, oh, maybe something is out of balance here?
Yeah, it probably took about 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess as the kids get older, they need more attention as well, and yeah, I was just beginning to resent not having to not being able to spend that time with them, and yeah, I think I was a little bit. To be honest, I haven't thought about it too much, but just actually, you know, thinking about talking to you guys and yeah, it makes. I'm obviously not a great thinker. I need to read thinky things a bit more and think about things. But yeah, I actually was getting just a little feeling like I was missing out, and
not only that, I think, Rod, to be honest, like that duration of doing night shift, like around 20 years of doing night shift, like physically, mentally, had like really worn you down. Like even one of our friends who had recently changed jobs to a much cruisier career, her brother in the ecclesia said, like, you're just not the same anymore. You just don't have the same spark. And
Right.
I think that, and I agreed with him. And I think probably after having talked to some some close sisters and prayed about it, I think, yeah, that's what made me. I said to Rod, oh, Rod, you know, if another job comes up that's, you know, better hours and it's going to be better for you, you should at least consider it, I think, you know. And then yeah, that's kind of
so was this sort of one of your turning points, was it, where you've gone, okay, we're in this flow here, which is not going as well as it might. Is this one of the turning points? Is this one of the balance points?
yeah, I guess like last in 2020, I started a new job, like a part-time ICU part-time around the hospital job, and that meant that I had to work in pretty much an ICU at the start of the week. I might be on days or whatever, and we just do 12-hour days, so it's like 6:30 till 7:30.
Days, yeah.
And then I'd often do the other job and the other weekend, because I had to try and put my rosters at each end, and then so I did a year of that, pretty much exactly.
So working during the week and at least one day in the weekend.
Yeah, and it's
maybe
also
2 days.
shifts. So I do nights, afternoons, and days in a week, like all different shifts.
Oh.
Sometimes it wasn't that bad,
Yeah.
but I do quite a lot of weekends. So I came out of last year, and that was kind of during COVID as well. So there's a bit of stress around that. And then
Yes.
went back to the ICU at the start of the year, but I was still flying a bit on the helicopter. So I'm doing on call on the weekends when I can, just to pick up extra shifts and help out the team, because it's very short. So I felt like I was just jacked in all the time. Like I felt like I was plugged into, and just there's texts going out all the time to try and get staff and messages about whatever. So even on my time off, I just felt like I was, and there was always non-clinical stuff to do at home. So yeah, I just didn't feel like there was any downtime, and and that was partly my problem. It wasn't actually work. But yeah, and I was just struggling to get overnights, to be honest, as well. I'd finish a night run, and we only do days or nights because of the 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I would just sometimes take right till my start of my next week, and I'd still be feeling like jet lagged.
Totally.
So, yeah. Then Sarah started saying about maybe trying to find a different job, and
I think I mentioned it like once. I mentioned it once. No, like, to be honest, I'm going to be honest though, be fair here. I mean, it had been 20 years. Come on, I'm not exactly, I'm obviously not chewing a ear up about this thing. But in the past, I mean, I can think of one situation where I feel like I'd inadvertently actually pressured Rod into it, or he'd done something to make me happy, and I think I decided before talking, I decided before mentioning this to Rod that I didn't I didn't want this to be a pressure thing from me, because obviously, you know, Rod's at work, you know, for a good part of the week, and I wanted him to be doing something he, you know, enjoyed and found somewhat fulfilling. So I decided after, you know, some prayer and some discussion with some close, you know, friends who are sisters, that actually, yeah, I would just suggest this. I would just say, look, Rod, I'd love it if you would consider, if something arose, you know, just looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like that is all. I did not try and, you know.
She
You
sowed the
didn't put
seed.
any pressure. Yeah.
No pressure, yeah.
No
I was
pressure.
not harping on about this. I can harp on, but this is one of those one of the few things I chose not to harp on about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that must have been quite a sacrifice from your perspective too, Sarah. You know, if you were thinking, you know, like we need a change, or even Rod needs a change because he's, you know, home and tired, that must have been quite a sacrifice for you to be able to go, I'll suggest it once and then I'll leave it.
Yeah. Yes, but I feel like, I mean, I guess everyone's marriage works differently, but if you're married to a Bowen, the Bowen needs to like, and I think for most of us, we need to come to these things ourselves. And if Rod hadn't decided that it was important for that to happen himself, obviously in discussion, you know, if he was happy to discuss it with me, that was great, and he certainly did, and we certainly, you know, like talked about this in depth. But yeah, if he didn't come to it himself and like realize himself, then it was going to be no good, because, you know, no one needs someone kind of pushing them from the sidelines into something that they don't want to do, I don't think.
Well, it only builds resentment, doesn't it? Yeah. You know, just kind of like, don't want to do this.
Yeah, and Rod
Yeah.
doesn't push me, so I like that. I guess how we work, we try and support each other rather than, you know, control each other. So
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. That's really important.
Yeah. So in the meanwhile, you'd been managing young children almost single-handedly a lot of the time, Sarah.
yeah, I mean, not for all the week, but at least for the 3 days or 4 days, if Rod was doing night shift, that he was doing those shifts, then yeah, I mean, he might have them on his knee while he was half asleep or something, but fairly well. Yeah, that was probably what we were doing.
Yeah.
So you changed jobs. I'm guessing that's where it was leading.
Yeah.
Quite soon after I suggested that, actually something arose. Hey, Rod, and they don't arise all the time.
No, I guess the ball started rolling. I talked to a few people. I guess it's like other places in New Zealand. It's just, in some ways, a small industry when you know everyone after a wee while, and and all of a sudden I've got a new job. So
I think what happened was did someone tell you about the ad or something?
Yeah.
And then
I guess you have to see it as God guiding you, don't you? It's and to be honest, I wasn't 100% sure whether I wanted. I loved my old job. I still love it actually, and I do miss it a lot because I didn't leave. So but Sarah thought I needed to have a change, and I could see that, like, even little things like not being able to do the readings with your kids, or having any routine, and I was just getting worse at routine because the routine changed pretty much every week. So I could see some real benefits in that, and the having a new job is like really afforded, like it's Monday to Friday pretty much, and so it's the regular hours and the routine that I think is probably one of the best things about it.
Right. Yeah.
And not feeling extremely tired all the time. I'm still tired. We're still tired, but it's just a different tired.
To the point where actually you've never felt like a morning person, but nowadays we can get up at 6:30 and you can like read the Bible or
Yeah.
do some kind of study or whatever and
Yeah.
feel fine. And yeah, like, which is kind of amazing, because Rod would have thought that that was not something that he could have ever achieved, eh?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
So are you just working day shifts now? Is that
Yeah.
how it works for you now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
good.
just weekdays, or do you still have some weekend work?
Yeah, just weekdays. I helped out in the ICU the other day, but yeah, I'm meant to be overseeing. Like in many ways, I've ended up in a different kind of role, which has actually got higher expectations. So
Okay. That has its own stress then.
yeah. So it's kind of, in some ways, it's kind of silly to say that that we've got it all sorted, and but it's like, you know, out of the frying pan into the fire kind of thing. And like in many ways, my problem was, like, I think I recognized there was a problem at work, and I think at my old work, and that partly was my own problem. Actually, probably in a big part, it was my own problem with boundaries and
Okay.
maybe my upbringing. So yeah, I guess it's just finally kind of working out that you shouldn't give everything to work, and yeah, I needed to change. Like, if whatever happened, no matter what happened, whether I got a new job or I didn't get a new job, I needed to change and make some clear boundaries between work and home life, and I could have done that and kept that other job, but at the kind of the same time as all that stuff was happening, then this other job came up, and yeah, like I didn't think I'd get it, and then it was a different job to what I thought it was, and
But we prayed
just
that if Rod got an interview and then if he got offered the job, we prayed towards the idea that that would be God's will, because that's all we could think of doing. Like, it seemed on paper like a good idea, but you never really know. It still might be like a terrible decision where it's like it's like a leap of faith, anything, right? But we just talked about it, did it together. Hey, wrote your letter together. Turned out to be a completely different job to what you thought you were applying for. But like, if God, gets you through all of the stages, then you'll give it a go. And even when you were offered it, right, you were kind of like, oh,
yeah,
don't know, should I take this?
It's really hard to know if God, like, it's hard to work out how God is talking to you in your everyday life. And so because I thought I'd sort of botched my interview because I'd practiced with different questions, we made that where I was like, I'm sure I'm not going to get it because I was thinking it was a clinical role and not a management role. So so then if I get it, I'll see that as a sign and take it, because I feel like
I did a bad job.
So that's an easy way for God to tell me.
So it's all in God's hands, really, because I didn't do it. Yeah.
So
how did it feel to be able to like step out in faith? You know, when you get I take it you got the phone call or the letter or whatever, and says, you know, you've got the job, and now, like, whoa, how did that feel to step out in faith and go, this is completely unknown?
Yes.
Yeah, scary actually, but like, it's just a good opportunity. Like, even actually when I was feeling like I was at work, actually sometimes it's just good. You just need a change. Even if you go back, you just need some time out. But the part of the problem with this role was that it was quite a decent pay cut, and that's one thing that I really worried about. Worried about.
Fair enough. Yeah. You got a family.
Yeah, I guess when you're working, you're always hoping that you're going to keep going up,
Yes.
and as things get more expensive. So I guess that in a way, that's a part of for me anyway. I know I shouldn't focus on money all the time, but that's kind of what I think about in terms of keeping the family going, and that really was a bit of the leap of faith. and,
Right.
and trying to think how we're going to manage, because it's just hard to know how you're going to go on a less pay check, isn't it? Like, and
Totally, yeah.
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
still trying to work it out.
And it's one of those natural things that a man wants to do is to, well,
Mm.
needs to do is to provide for his family. You know,
Yeah.
it's a natural driven instinct in a guy, provide for
Yeah.
your family.
Definitely. And that's
So,
where some of that scripture around like
yeah.
contentment and not striving, hey, you've definitely thought a lot about that, right?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
the last couple of years I've been trying to come to terms with some of the concepts in the Old Testament about, like especially in the Torah, about how God wanted the nation, you know, in his sort of ideal world to live. And
Yeah.
for example, like the Israelites were meant to not really have ownership of the land. God says, you know, you're renters. You're renting it from me. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I guess in New Zealand, in the Western world, we buy into this system of always wanting more and striving to, you know, to make more money, to get further ahead. And I guess you really feel like if you're not like that, if you don't do that well, then you feel like you've failed.
Yes.
And there's only very few people that do well, but that Ecclesiastes passage really just says something like,
So I read it again.
yeah,
And I saw that all the labor and achievement spring from a man's envy of his neighbor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind.
yeah, that especially that first bit is exactly my problem. And I guess you're always looking over the fence. That's
Looking
exactly what it says,
envy at your neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a human problem, Rod. I don't think it's just yours.
It's lucky we've got big hedges around here, because you can't actually technically see over my fences. But yeah, that's part of it as well. So I guess that part of the leap of faith for us is coming to terms with the fact that, like, we know that's not important as Christians and Christadelphians, but just living like that is the actual challenge, eh? Like, it's like, you can say that in
Putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hard thing. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, it's one thing to look over the fence at your non-Christadelphian neighbour. It's yet another thing if you know, when it's your own close-knit group and you feel like maybe people are feeling like you're a bit of a failure in some way, or that's what you think of yourself anyway. Often is not, I think.
So
I think
that's an ongoing
we're our own harshest critics, whereas a lot of people probably look at what you've done and go, wow, that is a leap of faith, and that took a lot of trust.
I go good on you for that, you know, because that's amazing, where you can say, yeah, things are a little bit out of whack at the moment, and I'll even sacrifice that, you know, I'll take that pay cut to adjust to it, you know, and follow God's will, and that, I think that's just awesome.
Yeah, you're right. The interesting thing is, like, if you asked the kids, they were a bit cheesed off when they knew Daddy wasn't going to be in the helicopter anymore. But, but if you asked any of the kids what they would rather, whether they'd rather see Daddy in the morning and at tea time, or not, you know, or have him doing the old thing, you know, I know what they'd choose, and their lives are far richer, and we really, I mean, as Rod's wife, I certainly admire what he's done, because I know he did love many things about his old job, and he worked with some amazing people. I mean, he still works with amazing people now, but you know, some people he's known for a long time, and he, you know, when you put a lot into something and you really feel like you're contributing to give that all up and do something else, primarily for your family and for like ecclesial life, is as a partner is, I couldn't respect Rod more for doing that. You know, even if he decides in a year, like we said, you know, we don't know what time frame God's put on it, so we just, you know, even if he decides in a year, he wants to do something else, like we've got to be flexible, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and it's a sacrifice, you know, to give up something that you do love. It is a sacrifice, but it just occurs to me, really, you mentioned the word, your family is richer for it, and I think that is the focus you can have, isn't it? That you may not be richer in a monetary sense, but you're richer in a family sense, and that's certainly what God values, and it'll have dividends in the long run.
That's what's going to last.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. But often, sometimes we'd go for, like, what I hadn't really thought about it too much, but doing 12-hour shifts, I was up before they were up, and then I was home after they were in bed. So every week, in some ways, I was half a week away from them, like without seeing them.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
So you might as well have been in a different city for half the week, and kind of felt like that. I didn't really realise that at the time, but so part of it is, I guess, realising that at the moment for our family, like Alia's already 7, and it just goes so fast, doesn't it? And so this new, like, doing these hours for now is going to be a lot better, and potentially do something like that again later if that works better for our family.
All of the doors open in that direction. Again.
So it's good to kind of change, and I guess that's been a good realization that actually it's better for our family ultimately, isn't it?
For sure.
So would you say you've got better balance happening right now, or is it still really just a work in progress?
I've got a better routine for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I feel better.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't have everything in life, and I think the stuff I miss. Yeah, there's just different good things, but it's definitely a work in progress, and you've still got to have those boundaries, which I haven't got 100% sorted for sure. But like now I am able to wake up in the morning and have some headspace to do a Bible reading, or just, I guess it's easier to go to Bible classes as well. I see the kids in the morning, see them at night every day. It's a bit more flexible. Like today I was able to go and take Alia to the dentist in the middle of the day, which is pretty cool.
You could never, not only were you not here, but you could never ever take time off a 12-hour shift for even like half an hour to
it was just more challenging.
Do anything. You can't leave the hospital at all. Like it's just not
different roles.
Not in your role.
So there was no going to watch the kids at their sports, or home for a birthday party in the middle of the day or something like that.
No flexibility at all, really.
But I guess as a profession, I think nursing, like, it's a real good way of living out your faith and in a very caring way. And so I appreciated, like, I guess as I got older and realised that we should be trying to be Christians in our work as well. I really appreciated the ability to and I still do that now, but it's just slightly different, to care for people. And but the areas I went into in the profession were the ones that I was interested in. So I always wanted to fly on the helicopters. That was just part of where I wanted to go, and that meant that I was doing the more challenging, and I like the really sick patients. I like critical care. It's like my passion. So but there is a whole lot of jobs that are not like that, I guess, in nursing. And I could have got into a GP practice, or there's a whole lot of places you can go. But I guess partly it was because of where I wanted to be.
Yeah, where your interests are and your skills. Yeah.
Maybe that was part of my problem. That's part of the problem. Yeah.
So you've done some exhorts about this, or an exhort, or a couple of exhorts on this, Rod. What was the reaction of people who've heard what you've had to say?
Yeah, I think people just like basically. I thought first half of the exhort.
Let's just go back a step. What did you say? What was your message in a nutshell, without taking 20 minutes over it?
Let me go get it.
A week.
If you're in 20-minute exhorts, we have hour. Have we not got an hour?
Yeah, I guess it's just recognizing that. Well, I think it's the same for pretty much probably a lot of jobs. I've got a lot of friends in the same kind of scenario. I was talking to an accountant who was doing 80-hour weeks, and he at the same time just got a new job actually, because like he actually was literally doing 80-hour weeks on the clock, and so I just thought there was a lot of people in that scenario, and pretty much the first half of the exhort was just ranting about work and all the problems that we've got, and
people love a good rant.
Yeah, people like that actually, don't they? A lot. So yeah, so I guess it's the message is that it's not unique to my job. It's just we're all going through this all the time, and it's just good to think and have it's been real good for me to have a bit of a reset and think about what the priorities are and what the impact that my work. Like the problem is I was just bringing work home all the time, and that just has an impact on like work was just invading the other things that were important in my life.
Yeah.
And so I guess in some ways you don't have to be too overt with what the message is, because people just go, oh yeah, that's kind of that's
I get
what's
that.
happening.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So what was people's reaction? Was there any reaction?
Yeah, I think people really like just people being real about problems in their own life. Maybe they feel better that they haven't got them. I don't know. Yeah, I went through a couple of passages, like that Ecclesiastes one is real good. I like the Ecclesiastes, the other half of that verse. It says, it talks about someone that the person that's real lazy, who just wastes away because they don't work and they don't get any food then, and they just sort of waste away. And the other person who just works super hard, it talks about after the verses, and they die with like all this wealth, and it's like so pointless, and they die alone. And but he says better is one hand of quietness with quietness is it in one hand than two hands that are busy. So I kind of think it's just that balance, isn't it? It's like it's good to be busy, it's good to try really hard at work and do the best you can, but it's also good to balance that with quietness and taking time out and having the peaceful times and the Sabbath. I guess that's what it's all about, isn't it? Taking time, not thinking about things and production and jumping on the treadmill. It's just taking that one day out in time to think about God. Like time's precious.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
And it's just real hard with like technology all around and things beeping and work emails on your phone, and so yeah, I guess the exhort was for myself for sure. But I think other people can relate, because it's just it's a real 21st century problem.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who's stuck in the same rut that you were in? You know, who goes, something's missing, something, you know, or their wife says, maybe you should think about another job.
I'd say, yeah, don't be too pushy, because they might surprise you. I think,
Sarah, to be fair on her, Sarah was carrying our family for so long. So yeah, taking the hat off to what she's done for the last few years, but I guess that's teamwork, isn't it?
I think from my perspective anyway, it was probably helpful to have the chance to kind of really think about it, to pray with others about it, actually to pray together about it, although we're not super good at doing out loud prayers together, but we do, and we certainly did over this. And to just take some time. You don't need you might be having a bad time, but you've probably been having a bad time for a while if you've got to the point where you're like totally exhausted and your work's taken over a lot of your life. So there's no point rushing into anything, because you might be going from the frying pan into the fire, as Rod said. I don't think you have really gone into the fire, although starting a new job is difficult. It's like, it's been,
it always takes time.
Yeah.
So just taking time over it, and we talk to friends as well, other friends in the ecclesia and stuff like that too. So I think, and even talking to your parents, or I think just, it's not just, other people will have noticed, and you might be surprised at what they have to say if you open up the conversation as well. Because people will care about you, and your friends and family will notice if things have changed for you, the people who are around you all the time.
Yes.
So I think taking a bit of time over it was probably really helpful, do you think?
Yeah. And I think if you, as a Christian, you've got to believe that you're guided, that God's working in your life as well somehow. And maybe it's just thinking, taking time to think about the signs, maybe what he's trying to tell you. Like Sarah saying, maybe you should get another job when I'm a bit stressed out, and then just things kind of happened. And so maybe trying to
see the hand of God in the normal
and I
everyday.
guess we pray. I was praying about it, I guess, and So, but you can always change. It doesn't, that's the thing. I can still potentially, I don't think I've burnt too many bridges, hopefully, at my old work, and you can always go back. It's not, so just take the leap and give it a go, and if it's not right, not for you, then go back or do something else, but it's just take an opportunity and try and de-stress your life for a bit.
Sounds great.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
Are you leaving your job now?
Well, actually, I was going to mention that.
I hope this isn't live.
You didn't know?
No. Well, definitely haven't got it sorted, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, and I think it's a very inspiring work in progress, because all of us at some time or other, as life changes, we find that even the routine that we were in is now out of balance in some way, and we've got to put it back in balance. And I'm notorious, a little bit like you, Rod, for letting boundaries sort of expand. You go, I'll do this, and then someone asks me to do something else, and I'll do that. I'll do something else as well, and next thing I know, I'm flat stick and can't keep up. So it is a matter of, like what you said, you've got to revisit it, get those boundaries right, reprioritize,
and lots of prayer.
Yeah. So what really is important.
Yeah. And being able to stay kind of on the same page, working at it together, just pulling together on whatever that looks like.
And you've done really well like that.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Very inspiring.
So Really good, really exciting.
Appreciate you sharing your story.